Girls Inc of Omaha is an incredible nonprofit that's been around for 50 years and supports girls in our Omaha community. So we are centrally located in both North and South Omaha currently, and servicing upwards of like 1,000 girls a year. And our work is centered around enabling girls to be who they already are, which is strong, smart, and bold. So a lot of our work is around exposing them to the world and preparing the world for our girls while preparing the girls for the world and helping them just see themselves as the gifts and the beauty that they are. So as we continue growing, and we'll get into that, I can't wait to hear from my friends here. We have expanded into South Omaha. We're already there, but through the work of all of you, through our community, through some funding, we were able to work on building and creating a new space for our girls in South Omaha. So again, we've already been here. We've always been here. We've always done incredible work, and I've had the honor of being the CEO for the last 2 years. So growth is incredible, innovation is real, and we are really, again, just trying to think about what does it look like for our girls to run the world. I always say one thing I want you all to think about as we move through this is that at some point, we want some other little girls to take over where you left off. The only way that we can do that is if we pour into them in this way. So I'm excited to see this new building take off, excited to hear from our colleagues about how that's happening. And just so you know, all female team, all female led, and it's incredible to see us do this work. So thank you all for being here and joining us today.
Yeah, when I heard about this, I'm like, we absolutely need to highlight this project and just shout out to all the great work at Girls Inc. We've had the pleasure through Nebraska Women in STEM to partner a couple of times with Girls Inc., bring in one of our speakers to talk to the girls. So we love this relationship and the opportunity to elevate your work, as well as this really cool women-led creation, right?
All right. Yes. Thank you so much, Amanda. Yeah, it's good work. We're doing good work and we're excited about it. So again, if anyone's interested, please follow us on our website. Pay attention to the work that's happening. We're going to keep posting about all the things that we're doing and we want you all involved. So again, thank you for having us here.
Great, and thank you for taking the time to join us. Now I'm going to kick it to Megan and Anayeli to tell us a little bit more about how this came to be.
Um, we or so Megan Jarosz with Holland Basham Architects. I am a partner here at the firm, and we kind of heard like an inkling of Girls Inc. happening. I think it was for the South Club in like 2020 or like maybe like 2021. And um, it takes time to build project teams. And so, I really thought about like how can we be intentional to align the team of people with the vision and mission of our clients. And so for years, I've been wanting to build I'll say mostly female project team, design team. And so about 9 months before even the RFP went out, I went out and just kind of hit the street of like, hey, who are some really amazing women in engineering that we have in the Omaha area? And it was the conversations that I had as part of that, like those are actually my go-to people that I have on all of my projects now. Like just not for Girls Inc. specific, but I interviewed a lot of engineering companies and just, you know, wanted to know it isn't about just picking females for a team, it's about picking the best of the best in the community and that they just happen to be female. And I think I also learned that there's some engineering professions that need more females in them, that there isn't a lot of females. And so I think, those are conversations that I'm having with engineering companies of like, hey, like I see that you have this gap. How can we work on filling that? And I think like the connection to Girls Inc. I think the exposure to this project is life-changing. Sometimes like a female just needs like one person telling them that you can do this and they can go off in that career of whatever it is. Like in seventh grade, an art teacher told me I should be an architect, and here I am today, an architect. Like, it's just those interactions, and then really trying to do something different for this particular project. And again, like wanting to make sure that the team embodies like that vision and mission of Girls Inc. Because we want to be the role models to the girls. I don't know, Anayeli.
Yes, thank you, Megan. And we would say that when we started hearing about what Girls Inc. was trying to do with this project, and not what they're just doing as an organization, but also saying how do we motivate and inspire young girls to go into these professions of design and, the architecture, the engineering, and the construction. I was like, oh my gosh, I am so excited for this project. I think it's an incredible thing because it's a full circle moment for a lot of us. I mean, I grew up underrepresented, low income, single mom. A lot of the situations that the girls are in that are part of Girls Inc. And so when I heard about it, I was like, I I saw myself in the girls' shoes, and I said, how amazing would it have been if I would have had more women around me that look like me or that were females in this field. I would have maybe at a younger age decided to declare engineering or construction. So immediately I heard about it. I was like, absolutely. How can Kiewit be part of this? And came back to our leadership, and we had a lot of good conversations and about how do we formulate a strong team. And similar to what Megan said, we're all about top talent. We want to make sure that we're delivering the highest quality project for Girls Inc. And so we thought, like, who's a top talent? And if they can all be females, great. And the good thing about Kiewit is we do a really good job of being diversified in our workplace, whether it's, gender, different vet status, and just everything. We're very, very inclusive of kind of just everybody joining our Kiewit team. And I've seen that because I've been here for 18 years. And so I think it was a good opportunity for us to think about everybody within our organization who can be part of this really special project, and not just for the project, but then what it would also do for the organization within itself. So extremely excited to be part of this for this project.
It sounds like you're both at organizations that were very supportive of this endeavor. Any other thoughts on that you'd like to share about what leadership thought of this idea within your firms or in other places? Doesn't sound like there were many, but any other barriers? Like you talked about, there are maybe some gaps where there aren't women with great deals of experience yet. So talk to me a little bit about those things.
I think on the design side, that having female like mechanical, electrical engineers, like there's some truly amazing ones that are out in the community. I would say fewer structural engineers, and then I would say even fewer like low voltage. Well, wasn't able to find any low voltage at the time that we built the team. So low voltage, what are like AV design? I would say that there's a gap, but that's also starting to get filled. But I think it's like just going out there and asking the questions, it makes people think about it. I think so much of, especially in male dominated industries, like it's always just such the norm that like men are leading, and that's changing like across the board, by the way. But like just to be intentional and ask the question like, hey, how many females do you have at your firm? Like how many females do you have in leadership positions? Because it's not just about having females that work for a company. It is important to have females that are like leading that company as well. And so it just asking the questions, and like um don't always like get the answer that I wanted to start off, but at least I'm out there asking the questions. And it isn't like for necessarily every project, and it's not about like having like 100% female in everything that we do, but it's about being intentional and starting to like to challenge, I think, a little bit kind of the norm that we have, and just starting to get people thinking about this. Oh, this is important to people. So maybe it's something that we should start tracking internally ourselves.
Yes, on the construction side, I think for us, again, we were looking at how do we find a team that is going to be the top talent. And so I think for us, it was we had women spread kind of all over the U.S. For this project at the time, because for us, we're all about giving folks opportunities, whether it's in Nebraska or outside of Nebraska. And so at the time, some of the team that we wanted for this project were not physically in Omaha, Nebraska. When we were interviewing for the project, and we said, "Oh my goodness, but wouldn't it be great if we can like come together?" And it's all about timing. When is their project over, the one that they're on, versus when is it starting? And so there was a lot of thought in how do we do that? How do we bring them together? And does it time out with their current assignment? So that was definitely a challenge, Amanda, to your question. And I would say in the last few months, we've had somebody move from DC, and we've had somebody move in for Seattle for this particular project. And so slowly kind of bringing everybody together to Omaha. That way, when we kick off this project, we have a strong team.
That's so cool. What have like, you know, just what have male colleagues, thought of this approach?
Yeah, on our side, I think it's been supportive. It's been, how do we help, and how do we support kind of this mission? And so even when we were strategizing on like what is the right team, there was dialogue around that. And even now, things change, right? I mean, this was several months ago when we were, blessed to be selected for this project. We were like, okay, now like the project is moving, and how do we make sure that it's still the right team? And there's still, I think it's always like, do we have the right team? Is timing going to work out? And it's been supportive in that sense, of following up and being an ally, and trying to help with that, which I think is helpful, because that means that our male allies are definitely supporting this cause and what we're trying to do, which is great.
Well, I love hearing about how thorough the process has been, in finding the right team, regardless of where they're located, even, right? And making sure the quality is there, because that is also incredibly important. Like the job has to be done well. We want this to be a great place, for the girls at Girls Inc. So the blending, and to be able to say you can provide the quality while also pulling from your female pool is really cool. What has it been like, Megan, for some of those, like you said, there are areas where there aren't women or there haven't been. How has it been for the men being a part of the team?
I think that we joke a little bit, like when we talk about getting the ladies together for things, and then we'll say, "Oh yeah, and Bryce," or and like,
Mhm.
because it's so interesting to be in a room. It feels really powerful to be in a room where you're represented. And it's definitely in our fields. Like Anayeli and I met many, many years ago on another project, and we were the um the minority in the room. And that's been typical for years. And so it feels so good to be in a space with representation. And I don't know, it's a powerful message, and for what a great organization as well. And I think that's why I felt so strongly about this particular project, and like really putting my foot down like this time. But there was so much work that went in on the front end of finding the right team, and not just a female team. Like it had to be like the right people for it, because this project is also going to be looked at like under a microscope by other people, probably a lot of men, of just we've got to get it right. So I didn't want it to be like this big deal, and they're like, oh well, this went wrong because it was a bunch of females, or whatever it is. So it was just really important that we put the right group of people together.
That is very interesting, just like the pressure that goes along with it too, because there are lots of male only projects, right? Like
Yes.
there are, plenty of those. And so to have this opportunity, and I've worked in spaces that were male dominated too, and just, yeah, that peer support and kind of that elevation that you can bring with you going back into the traditional process, right? Not every process can be all women led, right? But
Right.
you can bring that back with you.
Absolutely.
Tell me about where you are in the process.
Yeah, so right now we are Kiewit is pricing the DD set of documents, and we're going to be starting up CDs to start some site work this fall. So there's going to be some movement on the site this fall. There's actually a groundbreaking in like 2.5 weeks.
Oh,
out there on site. So that's something to just definitely keep an eye out for. Um, it's on the Friday, I want to make sure that I
October
say the
3rd,
right date. Yep,
next
October
Friday.
3rd.
Mhm.
Yep,
Awesome. Yeah, that's a week from Friday.
yep. And so it's just excited to see this because it's been so many years in the making. Like we've changed sites a couple times that y you know, the original pricing was done pre-COVID, and so then just right sizing the space that we've been through three EDs like throughout the entire process, and so just getting the right vision to align. And then I'm just so excited for like Candy and like doing something just a little different with the South Club. And I feel like it's like the perfect location, connection to South Omaha, all of the different schools down there. Um, it's just, yeah.
I actually don't know the cross streets of where it will be. Can you tell me that?
And we can share that, right, Candy?
Oh, I might have,
Okay, good.
hopefully the
No, no.
groundbreaking, if people wanted to show up next Friday, maybe we can share some
Yeah,
details.
yeah, absolutely. So it is on Missouri Ave and 22nd Street.
Sweet.
20th? Yeah. That we can send out a link to everyone to make sure that we get the yep, 2108 L Street. Perfect.
Awesome.
And like even the site had challenges, like which some of you may or may not know, like a lot of South Omaha was an old landfill. And so just challenges with that of but I have faith in our team for designing in that location. I have faith on Anayeli's team for constructing it. Like we're all professionals. We know what we're doing. Like this is gonna be the building's gonna turn out just fine.
Do you have any other thoughts about the process, the project you want to share? And then, or if anybody else has questions too, you can feel free to drop those in the chat. And then I'll start digging into just their larger experience or life paths a little bit. So, any other final thoughts on the Girls Inc. project itself?
Yeah, the only other thing I can add on to maybe what Megan was talking about on the design side, but then also on the construction side, because of the site conditions that we currently have, one of the things that we want to do after groundbreaking that Megan was alluding to is we want to get a big pile of dirt set out there. So it's called surcharge. And so we want to be able to get that out there. That way the ground is settling. That way when we start work in the spring, it has the time required to settle the ground there. So that'll be kind of the big activity that folks will see as they're driving through there. You'll just see trucks coming in and out, getting dirt on the site, which will be exciting because I think it's just like that. We're prepping as we're finishing the design. We're that is
Mhm.
just sitting there for us to kind of come put shovel in the ground when we get foundations next year. So that's exciting.
That's cool and an important part of the process. And what is the timeline or the hope? I know these things can be a moving target, right? But what's the hope, I guess, for completion?
Yeah, so right now where we're at, and still getting through a lot of the design, but it's to start in the spring of next year and be complete by quarter 4 of 2027. And a lot of that the building will be done, but then obviously Girls Inc. has to be able to go into the space and get furniture in there and get everybody acclimated to the space before they open it up to the girls. So there's still some of that that's being massaged and trying to find out what makes the most sense.
Awesome. Now, you've talked about the significance of being able to show the girls at Girls Inc. You can be an architect,
Mhm.
an engineer. Um, just share a little bit, maybe each of you. Megan, we'll start with you about your journey. You did briefly mention somebody put the idea in your head, but
Oh
elaborate a little
yeah.
bit on that and your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I guess my architecture journey started in seventh grade, where I was really good at art and really good at math. And my art teacher one day just randomly said you should be an architect. And I was like, cool, let's do this. And I just like looked up that day what an architect was. And I don't know, I got it stuck in my head. And just because of like one person saying like, hey, I see this in you, like it put me on the path to where I am today. And I think that's why it's so important for us like getting in front of the girls at Girls Inc. Like I want to be able to hire them one day. Like let's inspire them now for them to go to school and then I want to hire them at my firm. Like that really is like the ultimate goal. Like we've done VR a couple of times where we took our VR down to the girls so that they could walk around the building. The new design of the South Club. So we went up to the North Club. Was that like a month ago? I don't know. Concept of time, like about a month ago. And yeah, we welcomed the girls from the South Club in and they were able to walk around their new space in the VR. And again, it's just about these little exposures to the girls that I think are so important to truly like make a difference. Sometimes it just takes that one conversation. I think representation matters. And so making sure that the girls see that there's women of all different colors that do engineering, that do architecture, that do construction um, that I think that's the impact that we're trying to make at Girls Inc. And honestly, in all the work that I do, like, yeah.
Anayeli?
Yes, of course. So mine was a little later. I was a senior in high school, and I was taking a college class at Metro Community College South Campus. And while I was at the South Campus, there was a conversation that was had after the class was over, and they were like, "What are you all going to do now that you're a senior in high school?" And my response was, "I'm going to go get a job." I mean, again, my mom needed money, we needed money, so I was like, "I'm going to go get a job and help kind of support our family." They said, "Well, what are you good at?" And I was like, "Well, I'm good at math and science. Those are the two subjects that I've always naturally kind of gravitated towards." And so she immediately started saying, "Well, what about becoming a teacher?" And she started kind of brainstorming with me. And this was a faculty member at Metro Community College. And then hit on engineering. And right away, I became intrigued by what she was talking about. Didn't know what engineering was. And she starts talking about a beam, which is up on the ceiling. She's like, "You see that metal thing? That thing is a beam." And a structural engineer had to calculate the length and width and how much snow can pile on and wind load, and that's essentially what prevents the ceiling from caving into the building. And she explained that process, and I just became very intrigued by that. I was like, wow, I could blend my passion for science and my passion for math, bring it together and have an engineering degree and have a career that I'm going to love. And so I immediately went and pulled up the yellow book and went to the called an engineering firm and asked, "Would you allow me to come shadow you?" And they did, and it was somebody here in Omaha, and I ended up shadowing somebody in construction engineering out on a job site, and then somebody as a actual civil engineer, and ended up deciding to go into construction engineering because I love both the side of construction. I love being a builder, and then I love using the engineering side of my brain to think about this is on paper and how do we make what's on paper into reality. And there's a lot of problem solving that goes into that, which is naturally engineering. And I love working with people. And so when you're out on a job site, we can have anywhere from 100 to 150 craft, and you're managing 60 to 70 different contractors, contracts there. And so it's complicated. There's a lot of coordination, and you're working with the design team and the clients and all of the subcontractors that are bringing it together. And so it blended a lot of different interests that I had. So that's how I ended up getting into engineering. But then that's where my advocacy started as a freshman in college. Because I said, well, that's interesting that nobody talked to me about engineering until I happened to be at the Metro Community College campus at the South Campus. And so I once again went to my phone book and started calling principals at elementary schools and middle schools and saying, "Hey, I'm a freshman at UNO studying engineering. Do you mind if I come into your classroom and talk to your classroom about engineering and what type of opportunities exist?" And so my journey started then as a freshman, still trying to figure out what I was going to be doing. And then now I'm on different boards in the community to try to get more youth in underrepresented groups into engineering and construction.
You're getting lots of love here
Uh,
in this webinar.
She should.
I mean, the proactive nature, that you have of getting out there is really inspiring. Um, do either of you have just a person or an organization or an entity that has been really supportive of you, that has helped you maybe even navigate difficult barriers, things like that?
Yeah, I would say like the organization that's made the most impact on my life has really been Women's Fund,
Mhm.
that they have a really amazing circles group, which is women leaders in the community. And just like the connections that I made through there, like honestly, that's how I know Candy. Anayeli was in the program as well, of just like, it is different. Like, the things that women go through, I think in our professions, sometimes they are just a little bit different than the men. And so sometimes it's nice being able to have people to talk to that are at your level of leadership in the C-suite for companies, and have a safe space to kind of bounce ideas off of. And so I think that the Women's Fund organization, like that has made probably the biggest impact in my life, and I think helped make me successful in the partner that I am at my firm.
Awesome. Any Ellie?
Yeah, for me, it would have also been Women's Fun when I joined, and Megan's the one that recruited me. She's like, you should apply. It's a great organization. And I ended up meeting incredible women across all fields, which was great. And I would say the other thing is my tribe within the Kiewit family. I mean, I've been very blessed to meet different women throughout my career. Some of those probably on the call today, and they're always a phone call away. It doesn't matter what state or country they're in. If I ever need somebody, I know that I can call them, and whether it's a good day or a bad day. And there is that tribe that I have, and honestly, that's what's gotten me through a lot of my career. And because there's good and there's bad, and you need to be able to have both. And I think when you have that trust in those folks that you can have candid conversations as a leader and be vulnerable and have those tough conversations, that makes a really big difference. And I've been blessed to have that within my organization. And I would say that's not, sometimes people are like, well, gosh, well, how many women do you have within Kiewit Building Group, which is our business unit? Kiewit as a whole, we have 32,000 employees. And so some of them are not even within our business unit, but I still call on them and trying to cultivate that, I would say, within now as a leader within the organization for other folks to come to me as well. I'm like, hey, everything isn't always going to be good. So if there's something you want to talk about, I always try to be available for other women that are trying to lead and lean forward and get into those leadership roles because you got to pay it back and uplift others to get into those leadership roles as well.
What advice do you have, for that person coming in your office, just in generally speaking? It can be specific if you want, but just advice for women on their career paths, but maybe a little earlier on those paths.
Yeah, so typically it's like where do they want to be and what do they love doing? And typically it's, well, what is holding them back? Because sometimes I would say for myself, there was a lot of times I was holding myself back. I was like, well, I'm not ready. Am I ready to do this? And I was constantly going through that in my head and just kind of overthinking a lot of those steps. And so sometimes when women do come into my office, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm like, you're like a mirror of me when I was going through those things of like trying to put barriers within my own path. And so then it's talking through that with them, right? Because it is a real feeling and it's scary. And so it's like, well, what could we do and how do I support you? And in doing that just in a way that's not, judgmental by any means, because we've all been there, I think opens it up. And it's not going to be perfect because we all make mistakes. I do say we're all going to make mistakes, but what matters is learning from them. And if we make a mistake, how are we going to learn from that and be better tomorrow, right? Like, I mean, nobody's perfect. We're humans. And so I think just hearing people out and listening has been helpful. And again, I still need it yet today. And so being that both ways is very important.
Megan?
Can you repeat the question more? I
Oh,
was so like inspired by Anayeli. Like I was just like reminiscing with her of like the number of times that we've talked to one another about stuff of just like, hey, you know, this is happening. Like it's just nice having another person, like female, like in a similar role, but in a different company. Because I think sometimes you need like that outside perspective for it. So I think like we need to create our tribe. Like we need to create that circle around us that lift us up and support us. And then also to be like, hey, I did this, it could have gone better. Can you give me like perspective of also like some, good feedback of like, oh, hey, I would approach it this way, or, another um that again, can you repeat the
well,
original?
the
I feel
question
so
was just,
embarrassed by this.
yeah, it was just advice for younger people in their
Oh,
career.
yes, yes.
And what I'm
Yeah,
hearing
thank
is
you.
kind of like find that tribe or don't be afraid to ask for
100%.
support, but feel free to elaborate.
No, absolutely. And it's also like go out even further. Like, I don't know if you're at a company and they're reach out to the person running the company if you're just starting out and say like, hey, like I'm happy to be here, or I would love to meet and have a conversation with you. Like I would say like be bold, like in the things that you do. Don't wait for people to come to you because sometimes they they might not. So I think you need to pave your own path for things and put yourself out there. Make sure that you are seen. That isn't about being pushy or like pushing your way to the top or any of those things, but I think like sometimes we forget that like um someone might just not see you or they're not paying attention. And like it's good to speak up for yourself and go out there.
Candy, do you have any thoughts, at this point you'd like to share? Because you're just a bottle of wisdom. You just have so much, in terms of helping people find purpose and, being passionate and, making progress. And yeah, just thoughts that you have in terms of inspiring other women, even though you're not maybe in a STEM engineer architecture sort of.
This has been great. Like I've just loved sitting here soaking it up and listening. And I admire both of these women, all three of you, so much for the work that you do and the spaces that you're in. And I would just offer that the work that Girls Inc. is doing is to create more of us, right? I think to say that we're still having firsts, right? So many of us are still experiencing things for the first time, means we still have so much work to do. And when our girls are coming to me and asking me my role in the organization, and I am proudly able to say I'm the CEO, and they're like, what's that? Right. And I'm able to explain that, I'm able to lead this organization. And it's not something I set out to do, but it's obviously something I was meant to do. And so because I'm here and I'm able to have a foothold or an opportunity to influence the way we do the work, I'm just so proud, right? That I can say my lived experience and the person that I am can help make the decisions that guide the direction our organization goes in the future. That sort of legacy, the work that we're doing on these projects, this is forever. Right. This is stuff that's going to last long after we're gone. And to me, you can't take that lightly. And so I look at it as a privilege and an opportunity to not only do this work with all of you, but to be able to be that example for our girls and for them to see again what's possible. Because someone mentioned in the notes, like seeing female leadership does make a difference. And our girls are able to see someone that looks like them in action. And know that what's possible is possible. And it truly is changing the way we do the work at Girls Inc. I mean, we're growing in leaps and bounds with waiting lists that are incredible. And I don't take that lightly. I think that what that's saying is that more, please, right? More of this, because our girls deserve it. And I think that's where my heart is. And again, that's why it's so exciting to be able to be in these spaces and see my colleagues and friends doing the work in fields where, again, there's not enough of us. But part of this work is to ensure that's not the case. That is the bigger thing we're creating, right? So outside of the building that will last forever, it's about the girls who get to experience this. We get to experience them. And then hopefully, like I said, I have this vision of us all sitting back in rocking chairs and all these babies coming up behind us, right? Doing all the work we no longer do, but doing it better than we ever could. Like that should be the goal. Like we want them to be better than us. So I would just encourage that. and continue to support work that's to continue to support Girls Inc. because that is exactly what we're doing. We want to make sure that the 300 girls we see every single day are better than us. So thank you. Again, I think this is great.
You are inspired. All of you are so inspiring. And let me tell you, this chat and the people in this meeting are inspiring in the way that they're showing so much love to all of you. And I do got to give a shout out to that chat. There have been some connections being made, and that is really wonderful to see, so that we can further this conversation even after the meeting. As we start getting closer to the end, again, if anybody has a specific question, pop it down in there. But what, like Megan, Anayeli, what brings you joy? I like to ask that as one of the last questions, whether it's in your job or in life, because, finding those places of joy also help push us through the difficult times, right? So whoever'd like to field that one first.
I think that there's so many things that bring me joy, but like, um, I want to say like having an impact on the community, like is just so fulfilling. And I think like that I'm so passionate about the work that I do, and like the the supporting women and girls in the community, which I've been doing for many, many years, and having a project that like brings that together, and then having, good friends of Candy and Anieli be a part of this, like it feels even more powerful. Um, on a lighter note, I love my dogs and a really good audiobook and like sitting on my porch, just like watching the world go by. Like that's what brings me joy.
Wonderful. Your response brought me joy. So, Anayeli.
Yeah, so I would say one of the things that has definitely brought me a lot of joy um is leaving wherever it was, whatever space that I'm in, a little better than the way that I found it. Whenever we go into a space, sometimes we're like, gosh, I wish this was a little better, or I wish we could change this. And I think, Amanda, you and I have had this conversation in the past, but it's like being that change agent and saying, like, well, I don't have to wait for somebody to do it. Like, we're going to do it. Right. And so then calling on your tribe and saying, like, hey, I think we could do this. Like, what do you think? And making that change, because to Candy's point, this is about the next generation of girls and them running the world, right? Are they're incredible. I mean, so anytime I see them, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're bold, they're confident. I'm like, my goodness, I was definitely not like that at their age. I was shy and all the things. And so I think it's like it's a lot of just like moving barriers. And that means everyone. I always say, like, my male allies, like, they've helped me so much as mentors, throughout my life. I talked about women allies as my tribe, but male allies have helped me as I'm working through things. And so I think going into that does bring me a lot of joy. And that's in different ways, whether it's like bringing more economic development to South Omaha, or it's bringing more women or underrepresented people into engineering or construction, or it's building amazing projects that make our community better. Like, all those things bring me joy um, throughout my life. And in the last half a decade, I've been blessed with marrying my high school sweetheart and having two babies. And so getting sometimes after a really hard day, like honestly, just showing up and emptying the Legos bags onto the floor, and just sitting on the floor and playing Legos for like 2 hours, that brings me so much joy. I'm like, I leave my phones at the counter and I just sit there and I play Legos with them for a couple hours. And it's just like, and our dog is in there trying to build something with us, or most of the time knocking it over. But that brings me a lot of joy too, because it's just like creating that curiosity in them, and who knows what they'll be when they grow up, but just being there and being present with them brings me definitely a lot of joy to be with my family.
Incredible. Oh, ladies, do you have any, like, I guess, final thoughts that you'd like to share with the group?
I think support Girls Inc. Like in the things that they're doing. I wish I would have known about them earlier on in my career and even like earlier on in life. Um, they're doing some really great things for our girls in the community, and I think that that's really powerful.
Yes, I would definitely echo what Meg is saying. Definitely support whether it's volunteering or mentoring or the Eureka program. They're always looking for companies to for the girls to go, or whether it's making a donation or sponsoring their upcoming events. I think those are all things that Candy would absolutely love and enjoy to have for you all to be part of it within your organizations. And I would say I think it's really amazing that there's males on this call. Like I love it. It makes my heart so happy. So thank you guys for definitely being allies for the work that's happening, especially today. I mean, and what we talked about today. And I would say for all of you, if there's something, the challenge that I would leave you is if there's something that you see within your organization or within your space or within your industry or boards that you're on that you want to be better, don't wait for somebody to do it. Just say like, hey, collaborate with other people on your board, collaborate with other people within your organization or nonprofit or whatever, and just get after it. Because if you are the one that's passionate and the people see that you're like, oh, I want to make this better, people will want to be part of that and they want to lead and, and help you in whatever way that they can. So that would be my ask of you all today. And thank you, Amanda, definitely for having us, and Candy, for your leadership at Girls Inc. You're amazing, and I know that this has been a long journey, and so we definitely are very blessed to have you as a leader of Girls Inc. Your listening and your passion, I think, brings a lot of joy for us as being on the project, being part of this journey. So thank you to you and Megan for allowing us to putting this thought together and allowing us to be part of this. It has been a great journey.
What perfect final thoughts. Thank you, Anayeli, Megan, and Candy for just being inspirations for us in the community, for sharing your energy with our group today. And we certainly look forward to seeing you in the future at the various events. And we'll continue to look for ways to elevate all of your work.